Good morning. I'm Rob Miller, and I'm here with my colleague Andrea de Mendola. We're both very honored to be here. Very quickly, I'd like to say thank you to Canon for the hospitality, to Tom, Tim, Kelly for the mentorship this week, and others, and of course to Kira and NASA for making all this possible. It was the 42nd day of the mission that NASA lost contact with the Skylab 4 space station for one orbit around the Earth. And since the start of the 73 mission, tensions had escalated between the mission control and the crew. They worked 16-hour days. They had time off, scheduled time off eliminated, and they really had little time to switch between tasks. So the crew staged a sit-down strike. They shut off the radio, and they stopped working. And after they landed, NASA and the crew used this episode to repair what had become an adversarial relationship. And they treated this incident as a catalyst to address a much bigger and mission-critical issue: the psychological well-being of the humans manning the spacecraft. We've learned from experiences like Skylab 4 that ignoring psychological stressors can push humans to the brink. Extended periods of isolation and confinement pose a significant psychological obstacle as we endeavor for longer duration missions. And over the last century, we've studied humans living in isolation and confinement to understand these stressors of inhabiting non-terrestrial environments. In short, we're asking that they live and cooperate with each other for the good of humanity while facing these inherent human challenges. Now, astronauts operate in long hours in close proximity to other people. They have very little space to call their own. They sacrifice their privacy. They sacrifice their health. They even sacrifice their hygiene. There are no day-night cues. You can't feel the weather. And any major failure can result in catastrophe. So to reduce these stressors during high-stakes, long-duration missions, we need new solutions. And one solution we're proposing is a platform for psychological well-being. We're calling it Augmented Voyage. Now, humans, we're a social species. Over millions of years, we've evolved to very specific conditions on our home planet. And as we increase the duration of these interplanetary missions, we need creative ways to replicate the conditions of our home planet to connect to astronauts back home. We're Hyperloop transportation technologies. We're building a ultra-high-speed transportation system. So everyone in here knows Hyperloop? Anyone doesn't know Hyperloop? All right, anyways, we're not here to talk about Hyperloop. But this is the capsule that's under construction in Spain to be delivered in Toulouse, France later this year. And we realized from the beginning that Hyperloop is missing something that's ubiquitous in transportation system today. You know what? It's Windows. And as a design principle, we say form follows function, but dictated by ceremony. And ceremonies are the things we understand. Not having Windows is an inhibitor for one. We internally were inspired by the more than 2,000 technologies that have spun off from NASA since 1978. And actually, it's something that we call the NASA effect in our strategic meetings. That's true. That's a true story. It's this challenge of having no Windows that we come here today to present our first spinoff to you. Now, Augmented Windows enables Hyperloop passengers to, in a tube environment, to see the outside world and engage with interactive content. So rather than traveling down a dark tube, our capsules can be calming environments where people enjoy their surroundings. It could be a window into your world, your personalized world. And with apologies, I show you a short demo that's in slow motion. I didn't know that I was being recorded, and I was forced to put this in here. But you can see as I move closer to the flat panel, the scene moves and adjusts with me. So how does it work? To simulate reality, you need to create an illusion of depth. And the key is this parallax movement. The camera on the side of the display tracks both your face and your head movement using 85 points of contact and adjusts the angle of perspective wherever the passenger moves. And by using either still or moving images, our content simulates the depth just by following the user. So as I mentioned, for space travel, Augmented Voyage can be a platform for not only viewing content, but for psychological well-being, to entertain, to connect, and maybe even with helping with tasks like regulating astronauts' sleep cycles during long voyages by adjusting the hue and the tone of the content displayed on the aircraft. Most importantly, Augmented Voyage can connect people to the lives they left on Earth. Our technology gives astronauts the opportunity to decompress from their mission duties, forget where they are for a moment, and socialize with one another. The distance in general has always conflicted with relationships, and service members and their families carry this burden. So every Christmas away, there's an empty seat at the dinner table. Every missed birthday, every missed anniversary is a sacrifice that they make for all of us. So recognizing this toll, for us at Hyperloop Transportation Technologies, we have a mission of humanizing mobility, eliminating distance. And what drives us for innovation is we innovate for our relationships and our personal connections. Now, you might be thinking that there are commercial applications beyond space travel, and we agree. Global transportation logistics is a multi-trillion-dollar industry. And in the world of transportation, whether on the ground, in the air, or even underwater, and Tom has reminded us a few weeks that there are more of our servicemen and servicewomen underwater than in the outer atmosphere. Opportunity exists for both our augmented windows and augmented transparent windows. The platform can also enrich retail experiences to allow content producers and mobility providers to engage with consumers in different ways. And there really is potential for this to become an entire new platform for development. In terms of the competitive landscape, the components as they are all exist, but this really is new technology. There are a few others that are early stage, but we have some unique opportunities and some unique advantages. 2 patents filed, 3 licensed. The brand of Hyperloop, if you think of the potential of an ingredient brand, is quite significant. There have been more than $6 billion in media coverage in Hyperloop around the world. The commercial partnerships, and we have a unique business model, which Andrea will talk about in a bit. One of those partnerships that we're very proud of and very recent is with Sony Pictures. And we're working with Sony Pictures to create new content for these augmented windows. And so you have a world of entertainment at your fingertips. And we do have the rights now to use the Spider-Man. We already have a working prototype. So with the right resources and partners, we anticipate within 12 to 18 months, we can have the technology ready to be tested in a space environment. With NVIDIA as a partner, we see the potential to use optical tracking devices to understand changes in mental states among astronauts. With advances in machine learning and artificial intelligence, that tracking software could double as a psychological assessment system. And lastly, the other iTech finalists here in the room some of them have devised solutions to tracking and understanding biometric information. Maybe in collaboration with some of those innovative companies, we could better understand how individual biomarkers can be tied to astronaut psychological cues. And with that, I introduce my colleague, Andrea.
Hello. I'll use those 5 minutes to give you a quick overview on hypertransportation technologies, which is quite a challenge because we do a lot of things. So Hyperloop Transportation Technologies was founded back in 2013. 2 weeks later, Elon Musk published the white paper about Hyperloop. We are proud to be the first Hyperloop company in the world, and I want to fast forward 4 years, and today we have more than 800 professionals around the world. We are a global company. Our headquarters in Los Angeles, but we are opening up many offices around the world: Abu Dhabi, Dubai, Barcelona, Toulouse, and Bratislava, and many more to come. We have 40 companies, actually 47, really, we had a few more participating in our very unique way that we work. I'm gonna spend just 1 minute to explain how we work. We call it crowdsourcing. Crowdsourcing meaning that you provide a service, you work with us, we give you stock option in exchange. That allow us to really create like an amazing ecosystem of partners and people and experts around the world to help us building the Hyperloop and actually creating a movement. We believe that we are leading this movement, and today we actually created an industry that has more than 5, I believe, like main companies building the Hyperloop today. So this is our team. We decided to put on the left side of the screen the company, the main staff of the company that is supporting us with augmented windows is called Reflect. It's a German company. They have more or less 60 employees. This is our top management. I'm the Chief Global Operation Officer of the company and part of the board of directors. Rob is our Chief Marketing Officer. My background, I'm an engineer by background, new media engineering, spanning from content creation to platform for hardware and software in media. Rob is a neuroscientist and a marketing expert. Those are some of the companies that are part of our team. Rob was mentioning the capsule that we are building in Spain. Well, Carbures, tier 2 of Airbus, is the actually company that is developing our fuselage, and now they're manufacturing in their facilities. We have Reflect, I was mentioning before, that is specialized in everything. There is augmented reality, virtual reality. Would like to bring to your attention another company that seems a little bit weird in this list of companies, that is Munich Re. Munich Re is the largest reinsurance company in the world. They do insurance. Why that is so important? Because when you design and you build a mass transportation system, you need to make sure that it's insurable. Otherwise, you have an amazing product, but you cannot go to market. So early on, we decided to partner up with those type of companies to actually work together to develop the next generation of insurance, to make sure that when we are ready to go to market, we already have an insurance that we can actually sell with our license to the commercial partners that we have, governments or builders, operators, et cetera, et cetera. We have many more. We will not have time now to talk about that, but happy to share later on some of our other partners. Those are some of the projects that we are working on. Well, the most famous is the relationship that we have with Abu Dhabi. We accomplished a feasibility study with them. And now we are negotiating a commercial Hyperloop, 130 kilometers that's connecting Abu Dhabi and Al Ain. We have a couple of others feasibility studies that are gonna come up later in Slovakia, Indonesia, India, Czech Republic. And we open up a research and development center in Toulouse, where we are developing our capsule and doing a test track for the integration of the technology. Another very interesting project that we have is South Korea. The government 2 years ago decided to invest in the Hyperloop space, created something called the Hypertube traveling, something similar. And they decided that we had the right technology for them, so they're licensing our technology. Why we are here? Well, As Rob was mentioning, the Augmented Windows is a spin-off of our company, and we would love to bring our technology to the space. So we would like to use your expertise to develop this technology for space traveling and have our possible partnership with NASA to bring data into space stations or any rockets that will travel in the next few years. Of course, as part of our business model, we are building an ecosystem of companies that work with us. And for us, it's very important to scout new technologies. We saw many interesting technologies in the last few days that we would like to explore more to see if there are opportunities for partnership, as well as Canon maybe supporting us with developing the next generation camera that we'll use in our system as Hyperloop or in the Augmented Windows. Investment, it's a very different story. We'll talk more later. We have a B round open right now. Today we didn't present that, of course, but if you're interested to know more about the company and the financing situation, we'll be happy to answer to your question. And thank you very much. We leave you with this quote about Albert Einstein.
So I could see this would be a great psychological boost for astronauts up in space. At home, would they need I guess they would need a similar system so they would be able to see or engage with the astronaut? Were you thinking of that aspect of it?
Actually, no. You could use any screen.
It won't move and
it won't. I mean, so when it'll make it more realistic for those at home if they're using a similar system. But we're focusing really on the well-being of the astronauts. So they could be talking to anyone on a flat screen, and they'd still receive the same effect.
I fly a lot, and I like to sit next to the window. And I always look out the window because I'm always looking down at stuff and thinking, whoa, what's that down there? And I find it incredibly frustrating sometimes that just about everybody else, even if you're flying over the Grand Canyon, is just sitting watching the screen in front of them. And I'm wondering, psychologically, from the transport case, not in the NASA case,
sure.
How do you kind of look at the psychological aspect of that? Because I find it quite extraordinary that people just don't want to look out the window anymore.
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, we're developing different types of capsules, and there may be experiences that have the user and the screen, which we're all quite used to. I think we would go into testing and really look at what the consumers demand.
I think bathroom on Hyperloop is very interesting.
That's a debate, yeah, big debate in our company. Yes, bathroom, no bathroom.
So I guess I'm curious, in your first implementation of the Hyperloop, are you going to have these augmented virtual reality windows?
Yes, we will. We need to because our customers will be from a very young kid to maybe an older person, and we want to make sure that we have the tools to guarantee like the best passenger experience possible. And based on the testing that we did so far, being like, let's say in a regional jet, like in terms of like dimensions, it could be for some people a little bit claustrophobic. So we want to make sure that with this technology, we defeat that specific effect that could be produced.
Yeah, our objective is to humanize mobility. So the travel experience that you may have had coming over here, cramped seats, taking off your belt and your shoes and being patted down, and I mean all of the things that have made travel so miserable today. I mean, for us, that's as strong of a mission as building a fast transportation system. So,
kind of a tangent question, and you guys may not have thought about this a whole lot. I mean, you're creating a virtual environment, a virtual interaction. I mean, what Greg was bringing up was trying to interface back with family on Earth.
Right.
As you get further out, away from Earth, you get into communication delays.
Yeah.
Have you guys thought about, if you are trying to recreate that experience, how you would handle it?
Yeah, it's something we've, preparing for this, we've thought about, and we would have to work on. I think that's something we would work with you to try to create that. You still create that psychological experience, yet the realities of the distance.
The customization aspect of it.
Sure.
So how is that user experience unique to them? So I'm thinking of multiple passengers on the Hyperloop.
Right.
How is their customized screen? How does that interaction happen so that they're seeing what they want to see, but the passenger behind them is seeing what they want to see?
So a few different ways. One is you can tailor it so they're individual. But if there are multiple people looking at the screen, one technology we're working on that we didn't discuss here is a multi-view screen, and so that exists in a rudimentary form now. But with near light field technology, we're looking at, Andrea and I can both be looking at that same screen, but we're seeing something totally different.
As well, from a business model standpoint, we are going to create probably certain capsules that are thematic theme capsule. So if you want to have the new experience for that, Sony wants to release the new movie and they want to give you an experience on the new movies, maybe you have that specific capsule based on that experience versus a more personalized that could come from collecting data of the passengers that we get.
Just quickly to follow up on Kelly's question, I had the same idea in my mind, but do you envision that at some point you have technology that will use facial and voice recognition to then adjust the content to your emotional intelligence that's being read by that technology?
That's absolutely essential. We think to really get the full potential of this, and that's something we're already working on. Yeah.
Hi, Robin. Hi, Andrea. I mean, I'm glad to hear someone with my accent. I don't feel anymore the exotic guy.
Not me.
Kind of jealous. So I had to apologize that I lost most of your presentation, but I know Hyperloop well. I know very well Rob Lloyd from Hyperloop. And so when do you expect to deliver the first Hyperloop? Because, I know you are in different RFP with Dubai authorities, with Singapore, and it's great. I mean, Elon is the master of, playing the violin on a stage and really inspiring crowd. But at a certain point, you got to deliver, right? So when is expecting the first Hyperloop where people can really touch and feel and...
Our aggressive timeline is 2021, and we have a couple of governments that we are negotiating with to make that happen.
Good luck.
Thanks.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's not clear to me what your commercial offering is here. It sounds like you're doing this for the Hyperloop, but what's your plan to go commercial and spin this off for other products in this very diverse set of market opportunities, particularly for NASA?
I mean, we've already had conversations with a few, and we could talk about this off stage, a few airlines, rail, and car manufacturers about this technology in transportation today. So the idea is that we've thought about this for Hyperloop, but the realization was this is something that may be able to enhance travel today, and that's really why we're here. So you don't need to believe that if you believe that Hyperloop is coming in 2021, like us, that's great. But the reality is this is a real product that Hyperloop or not, we think can really help to change the way we experience.
And you'll have the capacity and the resources to explore these other markets and their unique capabilities and needs, in addition to the Hyperloop transportation system itself.
Yes. Do.
Sure.
Do you have the ability, or have you looked at touch and/or the potential to go from data feeds that an astronaut may need either in the background or move the screen so that I can be seeing something I may need to know or a pop-up of some indicator while I'm watching before, during, or after the emotional experience?
It's a great question. We're working to try to incorporate multi-touch into the screens because that really adds another layer of richness to the experience.
Thanks very much.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you.